Respiratory illness. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has told EWN that he expects a full briefing today from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases.
As you know, this is an international trip that involves the World Health Organization. In South Africa, the key institution is the NICD. I'm only being briefed this morning about it.
Meanwhile, the UK's Foreign Office says it is monitoring the situation and is in contact with the cruise company and local authorities. Malingamnisi Eyewitness News.
Gauteng police say Phosphorus businessman Mazwi Kubeka is still considered a victim in his alleged kidnapping. Kubeka, a Spaza shop owner, presented himself to police over the weekend after a reported month-long abduction. He was allegedly taken in April while on his way to deposit rent money in a reported dispute linked to his shop. Gauteng Premier Banyaza Lesufi confirmed yesterday that a group consisting of South Africans, Ethiopians and Malawian nationals were involved in Kubeka's abduction, with some suspects known to him. Despite doubts raised on social media, many of Kubeka's supporters and his family say they are relieved he is home safe, adding that his version of events checks out. Speaking on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, police's Dimakatso Nebuuli says that investigations are continuing.
We still need to go back to him and retake the statement why he has come down and, he is a bit bad to his normal. So we can actually also force him, because in this case, he is a victim. He is not the suspect. So we cannot pressurize him to say, where were you? What were you doing? So we need to give him time to come. Like I said, we took the initial statement, but we still need to go and retake the statement.
Sure. Mpumalanga police say DNA tests will be conducted on the remains of a man suspected of being attacked by a crocodile. His body was found inside the animal following a week-long search after he was swept away by floodwater. Police Captain Johan Potgieter was lowered from a helicopter during the operation over the weekend into the crocodile-infested Komati River, emerging with the dead reptile. Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
The acting provincial commissioner of the police in Mpumalanga, Major General Dr. Zef Mkwanazi, has commended the team that has been working tirelessly in difficult and dangerous conditions to find the missing person.
And Boeing is scheduled to return to court today to face its latest lawsuits over a deadly 737 MAX crash in Ethiopia brought by the family of a young American NGO worker. Samia Stumo was killed in the March 19 Ethiopian National Airlines crash when she was en route to Kenya for her first assignment with a public health NGO that aimed to increase access to healthcare in Africa and Asia. But the plane went down shortly after taking off from Addis Ababa, killing everyone on board. The Ethiopian crash followed a Lion Air crash about 4.5 months earlier in Indonesia. The two crashes claimed 346 lives in total. Gold is trading at $4,587.87 an ounce. The rand is at 16.63 to the dollar, 22.58 to the pound, 19.50 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $107.21 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North approaching the Baku interchange. Roadworks are causing those delays coming out of Rivonia Road. There's also queuing traffic reported on the M1 South between Greyston Drive and Corler Drive. Please be on the lookout there.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has confirmed to EWN that his department will soon release more details about a British tourist who tested positive for hantavirus.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
With Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock, Dumelang. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show. On this 4th day of May, the first Monday of the month. I hope you're good this morning and I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. I had a restful weekend myself. Managed to do my last long run as part of Comrades training. I did a 60k on Saturday and I'm feeling so relieved that the worst is almost over. Because if you are a Comrades runner or you've got a loved one who's preparing for Comrades, we are currently in the peak of training. I'm sure you've noticed that. And the last few weeks have been so difficult. And now I think I fully get why my coach always says Comrades training is worse than the Comrades Marathon itself. Right? I mean, this man has built such a tough program for me. It feels like his approach is I break you during training so that you can have a comfortable, chilled run on Comrades Day. How are you doing today as part of your training? How are you going with your training? If you're going to be running next month, I'm just checking in on you because I know we have a large community of runners in 702 land. So how is training going for you so far? You can give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Are you holding on? A friend of mine who is also preparing for Comrades actually strained his ankle so bad last week. So he's out of running for about 3 to 4 weeks. And by the time he's good to go, it's going to be almost time for Comrades. And he wouldn't have finished his training program. But such is the nature of training, right? Some people get injuries or they get sick closer to the marathon. And I have been so lucky this year that I haven't had any weird injuries, just a niggle here and there, but nothing really hectic. So how are you holding up? Please let me know on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. How has training been for you? Are you surviving this peak training season? Have you started tapering down? Some people did their long runs, I think, a week or so ago. And how ready are you for Comrades, which is coming up in a few weeks' time? Give me a call, 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. And maybe your loved ones are the ones that are running. How have you been supporting them? And then the Miami Grand Prix. How did you find it? Did you watch the U.S. Grand Prix? It was a fascinating race. Congratulations, first of all, to Kimi Antonelli, who, by the way, has won 3 Grand Prix in a row. And you know how old he is? 19 years old. A brilliant, brilliant kid. And he is the man fighting hard for the World Championship. And I think things are looking really good for him so far. Charles Leclerc was unlucky. He had a spin on the opening lap, another spin on the final lap, but he managed to keep the car out of the wall. What piqued your interest with the Miami Grand Prix? How did you find it? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp, please. And then the story around this false Laura's Spaza shop owner, Mazwi Kubeka. He has been missing for about a month. There are many questions for a month about where he was and what might have happened to him, because he was last seen on the 2nd of April on his way to a bank to deposit some money. But after countless pleas for his return, and there were marches as well to highlight his case, he returned on Saturday evening, and the police said he just rocked up at the False Loras police station. But questions still linger around who took him, why they took him, and where was he even kept? The Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, revealed during a media briefing yesterday that Mazwi was allegedly kidnapped by 2 South Africans and 2 foreign nationals. And the implication is that it was over the control of Spaza shops in the area. And that could be one of the reasons why this man probably was taken. Which then brings me to what the MK party has introduced in Parliament. They have submitted a private member's bill which seeks to reserve Spaza shop ownership strictly for South African citizens. And I'd like to know if you think this is something that would be sustainable. What do you think of this proposal that the MK party is making in Parliament? 011-883-0702. Is it sustainable? By the way, we would not be the first country to go for something like this if ever we were to do it. Because there are other countries who have done it, albeit slightly differently. I mean, when you look at Tanzania, for instance, they issued an order to restrict 15 specific small-scale and informal business sectors exclusively for Tanzanian citizens. And they want to do that to boost their local entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. And according to this new prohibition order, foreigners are now banned from engaging in business activities, including general wholesale and retail trade, excluding, of course, the big supermarkets and especially outlets. The mobile money transfers are also included in that prohibition for foreign nationals. Mobile phone and electronic repairs, even salon services. So this ban also applies to home and office cleaning, small-scale mining, domestic parcel, and postal delivery. So the point I'm making is there are other countries that have sort of gone this way, even though in a slightly different way. Tanzania is one of those countries. I think Zimbabwe as well. Didn't Zimbabwe do something similar? I think they also mandated that foreign-owned companies operating in specific industries must give up a controlling, I think, over 70% stake to locals within 3 years. So Zimbabwe officially then reserved 14 economic sectors or so solely for its citizens. And I wonder if you think what the MK party is putting forward as a proposal could actually work, because there are a number of parties that have suggested this before. So this private members bill seeks to reserve Spaza shop ownership strictly for South African citizens. Do you think this could work? Is it sustainable? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. And then at 10 o'clock, we are going to speak to the Public Service Commission chairperson, Professor Somatota Fikeni, about suspended officials in government who continue to receive salaries. I mean, as taxpayers, you and I are spending 800 million rand a year on salaries of suspended public servants at national and provincial level, many of whom have been suspended for years. There are currently 674 officials at national and provincial that are on suspension, as reported by the Sunday Times yesterday. Over 500 of them have been suspended for more than 90 days. Some have been suspended for over a year, others for more than 2 years. What is the solution to this? Because this money could be spent wisely elsewhere. At 10:30, we're going to continue with our series looking at the origins of humanity from the perspective of various scholars and research. I'm really enjoying this. It's almost like a history lesson, this series that we've started. And what we're trying to do is trace our roots and how we ended up where we are. We started by looking at what research says about who were the earlier human groups on the continent. And at the center of that story are, of course, the Khoi and the San. And we've done that. This morning, we're going to continue that journey. And this time, we're turning our focus to another group of people, AbaNguni, right? This is a people whose story is not just about movement across the continent, but about identity, language, power, and cultural continuity. And we'll find out more about how they migrated and moved around, where they came from, where they established themselves, and how did we end up where we are now. And then at 11 o'clock, that's how we wrap up the show with our Family Matters feature. And today I really want us to talk about something we often don't pay attention to, the influence of our children on the relations we have with their parents, right? I want us to talk about the pressure that children put on parents to reconcile with each other. Whether after separation, maybe you've just divorced, or maybe there was conflict, and then children are somehow forcing you as their mother or as their father to get back with their mother or their father. Because for many children, the idea of family is tied to togetherness, right? And when that breaks, they don't just grieve it. Sometimes they try to fix it. But at what cost? I mean, as adults, we often think of children as observers in relationships. They're watching, they're learning, they're adjusting. But what actually happens when they become active participants or even influencers in the decisions that their parents make? And sometimes parents do choose to stay, do choose to reconcile because they feel bad for their children, because the children have made it very clear that they don't like them being separated, from their other parents. So that's a conversation we're having on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners of 702. I'm also preparing for Comrades. I'm chasing my 8th medal this year. And different approach. Previously, I would do a 60 kilometer. But this year, I decided to do 50 kilometers, ultras back to back, TNU and Loskop Dam. So the past weekend, I did My Way Wally. And I'm ready. Runners Podcast with Rotoholo. Tanko.
Danko, and all the best on the 14th of June. Hope to see you on the road. There are different approaches every single year. I remember the first time I did Comrades, the approach was I did one ultra, Omdidam, and then I did just lots of marathons in between until then we did Comrades. But this year, my coach's approach is different. He's made me do I did one marathon for the Baldwin Pretoria Marathon, which was the hardest thing I've ever done. And then I did 3 ultras. So I've done the 2 oceans, I've done Omdidam, and then this past weekend doing just the 60K training long run. And then now, I think from next week or in 2 weeks' time, then I start going down with the training. I can't wait for that. I just want this to be over and done with. Peak training for Comrades is so stressful. It really is. Sometimes people just break down and cry out of nowhere because their bodies just can't take it anymore. So how are you doing with your training? We are getting closer and closer to Comrades. I know we've got a lot of runners in 702 land. So let me know how your training has been so far. 19 after 9.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Tsepo, you are calling us from Pretoria. What are your thoughts on this proposal by the MK party? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, I think this is long overdue. It's really a great move from MK. And I'm saying this because the greatest beneficiaries of Spaza shopping in this country are Ethiopians. Now, if you go to Ethiopia, and I was lucky at some stage, I went there twice or 3 times to Addis. When you travel or walk around the streets of Addis, there is no foreign company incorporated there. You will not come across KFC, Chicken Licking, maybe Chicken is ours, but KFC is more global. You will not find those kind of companies where it's a global institution on the streets of Addis. Then you ask the locals as to why there is no foreign investments in this country. They tell you the rule here is anybody who's coming to invest in a country must partner with the local, and the local shall be the proxy for the land. So wherever this incorporation takes place, the rights for the land belongs to the local partner. And it doesn't matter at what level. I mean, for instance, I was sleeping at Radisson. The very Radisson had to partner with the local, and where that Radisson is assembled or set up, it's a local who's got the custody of that land. So that means you are family must partner with the locals. It doesn't matter at what level. It doesn't matter whether it's $1 billion company or smallest company. It needs to be a partnership with local.
And we've got localization policies ourselves, Tsepo, which is why 30%, if you're a foreign company, 30% ownership needs to go to, local, previously disadvantaged persons, or you have to at least choose that equivalence program that I spoke to the Minister of Communications about 2 weeks ago, that you're still going to provide skills and you've got to quantify that. So that exists. I suppose with Spaza shops, because it's such an informal sector, we've never really paid close attention to even the registration of the businesses. Because I remember covering xenophobic attacks and violence in KZN. This is probably like back in 2014 or 2012, 2013, 2014. And I remember at the time, government was talking about making sure they register the businesses. They must go and check which Spaza shop, who owns the Spaza shop, do you have the registration? And they still haven't been able to do that. And until we get that part sorted, we are going to be stuck with this problem.
No, absolutely, you're spot on. But I would say maybe they must tweak it a little bit, this request, the policy.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be partnership. If I host you in my yard as the owner of the property where you were set up in this tuck shop, that person will have to have 50% ownership of that company, of that Spaza shop. Because if we completely close them down, South Africans might not have funds to set it up, send them up.
Mm. Yeah.
Say 50%, 50%, and that's a government policy. And whoever who's giving you that site, if you don't give him 50%, he must then go and report you. Then they can come and close off. Yeah, because otherwise, if you say they must all belong to South Africans, we might not have money to open the shop.
Yeah, no, true. And I mean, it really surprises me every time I go home or I visit family where I see so many of the shops. I mean, the picture has completely changed. Like, we used to know that there's a general dealer there, Kwamasilela or Ampahlele, there are those homes that always had Spaza shops, and these were locals. And that's the game has completely changed. And I think part of the reason is that you can't really compete with foreign-owned Spaza shops. You can't, because the pricing is completely different from yours. And in some cases, not all cases, in some cases, there's counterfeit goods which are being sold at a much lower price to you. So people are struggling now financially. So of course they're going to go where they're going to pay less for goods. And that really makes it much, much, much trickier and doesn't make it competitive at all. Thokozani, you are in Soweto. What are your thoughts?
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Hey, Tara.
Good, thanks. Look, Clement, democracy is all about hearing the voices of the people on the ground. It's more about to reason their concerns and rationalize them, as opposed to just rubbish them or undermine them in the way Malema has done. Because people on the ground, they are electorates. They are the ones who choose government. And if he wants to become government, he should hear the voices of the people. The way he has been undermining this March and March movement, as if it's a group of individuals who are not intellectuals, who have no clue of what they are doing. He just has reduced this whole movement into just a group of minority Zulu people from KZN, who have no clue, who are using Intelezi. These people are fighting a legitimate issue of illegal immigrants. And instead of reasoning their concerns, he simply just calls them names in the way he has. And my view here, Clement, is that I don't think the EFF, or at least their leader, maybe it goes back to what Shivambo was saying, that it's a cult. I think now they're proving themselves really to be a cult. Because what they are doing, they don't hear the concerns of the people, but what they're just doing is just to push whatever agenda that they are pushing. Because people are fighting legitimate issues here of illegal immigrants, and he is not engaging them on that. If anything, he's just insulting AbaNguni, insulting Abophakela Umthakathi. And I don't think EFF is still representing the best interest of South Africa.
But what have AbaNguni done themselves, Thokozani? Do you think they've been acting like actually people who genuinely are pushing for the issues they're raising, and they're acting as leaders that they claim to be in their approach? Do you agree with the approach they've taken?
Yes, it's nothing but march. It's just that in a march, you've got different kinds of people and different characters. It's almost impossible to manage a march whereby people will act accordingly. So other people will end up beating some people, other people will end up looting and all that. But one shouldn't just only look at that. If you are smart, you are an intellectual, you are the leader, you should go and look at what exactly are they fighting for. What they are fighting for, they are fighting illegal immigrants. I know now in the media, we have just used the liberal concept of undocumented immigrants. There's no such a term in our Immigration Act. They are illegal immigrants, and illegal immigrants covers those who entered without documents, those their documents have expired, those who are not here for what they indicated they are coming to this country for. So it's a broad issue that they are fighting for. And for one to really reduce it into there is no illegal immigrant who is taking South Africans' jobs is really to undermine the whole Immigration
Is that what
Act.
Julius said?
Yes, he's saying, Clement, and if really they took your jobs, I mean, you close shops, can those unskilled, calling them unskilled, can those unskilled take over? I mean, it cannot really be a leader who says he's an intellectual, he's a superior logic individual.
Yeah, that's not the impression I got, because I've asked him that question before, because it was raised. There were a lot of people who even vote for the EFF who were unhappy with the party's position on immigration. Remember when people were quoting him as having allegedly said, open the borders, just break down all the borders. And the impression I got is they are against illegal immigration, but they also say, let's also be quite cautious about how we go about it and what the approach is. And I do think we need to be very careful, because, I saw a clip of Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, the minister in the presidency, addressing some of the marchers. And some of the people were saying, you could hear them go, who were part of the protest, speak Zulu, asikuzwa, because the minister was speaking Sepedi. And Khumbudzo Ntshavheni speaks Chitsonga, I think. Is it Chivenda? But because she's from Limpopo, she can speak Sepedi as well. And there are people in the march who's like, asikuzwa. What level of arrogance is that? Who says people must just come and speak your Zulu or your Pedi? You've got a minister who's on stage, their mother tongue, the language they understand. In fact, had she spoken Chivenda, a lot of people would not have heard. At least with Sepedi, it's a bit of a Sotho, you can get a bit of a Tswana, you understand it a bit. And yet people in that march were like, ay, khuluma isiZulu asikuzwa. That's unacceptable. Not in this diverse country we live in. And yes, that doesn't take away the legitimate concerns that some of these people are raising around illegal immigration, because that is a ticking time bomb in this country. But we also need to be very cautious of the approach that we take, I think. Duduzile, you are calling us from Pretoria. You're also training for the Comrades. Good morning.
Hello, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right. How is it going?
It's not going the way I wanted it to go. Unfortunately, I got an injury. So, yeah.
What injury is it?
It's an ankle injury.
Askis.
It's healing, but I'm 8 weeks behind. So it's just messing up my plan. So I'm not sure if I'll run or I won't run. But yeah, that's a story for another day. But I wanted to comment on the approach or the plan. I'm 71 years old and I started running some time back, maybe before you were born. At that time, when we were running the Comrades, things were not like they are today. We had coaches that believed in the no pain, no gain. So we trained 6 days a week, rested 1 day. But fortunately, I was still young because age works to your favor. So I could do all that. I managed to complete 13 Comrades Marathon.
Oh, well done.
The last one done in 2014. And then as you age, things change and your plan has to change.
Yeah.
And your ability also changes. So your plan is dictated by your age, your ability, and of course your coach's plan. So nowadays my coach says, because I'm older, the less I do, the better for my body, and I can see it working because it's very scientific. So instead of doing, I used to do 3 marathons and 2 ultras, or even 3 ultras. But now he just says you do your qualifying marathon, you do 1 ultra, and every other marathon that you run it easy. As a training run. Yes. And my advice is, when you start the Comrades, you know, for those that are new and still youngish, start easy. I'm not saying start slow, but start easy. If you are a 6 minutes per K runner, start at 7, because it's a long way and a long day to spend. So if you start too harsh, you'll pay later, and you might not actually finish the Comrades because it's really tough.
True.
So you have to spare your energy as much as possible.
Yeah, my coach used to say when I did my first Comrades that start slow and then go slower. Because sometimes we get too excited in the beginning, and I mean, you're running for about, depending on how long you finish, 8, 9, 10. Some people, they're running for 12 hours. So you need to just make sure that you are preserving that energy. Duduzile, thank you so much for that. I love getting advice from people who have done this thing over and over again. And well done on completing 13 Comrades. I wish you all your best with your recovery, with your ankle injury, so that you can be back on the road and we can see you on the 14th of June. It's 9:32. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has confirmed to EWN, that his department will soon release more details about a British tourist who tested positive for Hunter virus. The patient has been admitted to a South African hospital. The World Health Organization says 3 people on board a cruise ship are suspected to have died from the disease, though only 1 case has been confirmed in a lab. A crime intelligence officer dealing with agents and informants will be testifying behind closed doors at the Madlang Commission of Inquiry today. The officer will only be referred to as Witness G. The commission last month granted Witness G application to testify partially in camera, with his lawyers arguing that revealing his identity could potentially place him and his informers in danger. And a magnitude 6.0 earthquake has struck the central Philippines island of Samar. The quake hit a depth of 73.3 kilometers, about 9 kilometers from the province's coastal town of San Julian. Officials say the earthquake had been strong and sudden, though there had been no immediate reports of injuries. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N1 South towards Midrand, we're seeing some delays approaching Samron Avenue coming out of the Brackfontein interchange, while on the N12 and the R24 west towards Bedford View, an accident right at the N12 merge is causing delays coming out of the Edenville Road exit. Please be on the lookout there and expect about a 15-minute hold up towards the Giluli's interchange, heading towards the Joburg CBD via the M1 North. An accident scene reported right after the Soweto Highway. It's causing heavy traffic volumes from Boyson's Road. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. If you want to avoid this one, you still have got Nasrec Road, Crownwood Road as your alternative. And then if you are heading towards Sandton, we do have delays on the M1 North approaching the Grayston Drive off-ramp. That's due to faulty traffic lights at that turnoff. And I'm also seeing an accident right at Grayston Drive right after the M1 exit. It's causing about a 15-minute hold-up. Please be on the lookout there as well. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem system that we have built, the community. It's all about connection, because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
In the news this week, fuel prices are rising yet again, but there's some relief for ShopRite shoppers. With ShopRite's bulk buying power, they're able to secure stock long before price increases, which means that they can keep their prices lower for much longer. So you can save on deals like Wheat Bix, 900 grams for a low 52 Rand 99, and Re Coffee, 750 grams or 800 grams refill for only 129 Rand 99 each. Valid until Sunday the 10th of May. Lower prices you can trust always.
Moving to a bigger office space can be expensive. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I get to save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. Plus, I get My Business Assist, which helps me with marketing, legal, and admin services. Saving money while growing my business is a great win for me.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your monthly premiums. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. Your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. This is the 702 open line. I've been asking you about Comrades training. If you're a runner, you're training for Comrades, you've got a loved one, maybe that's training for Comrades, which is coming up on the 14th of June. How are they doing? Because this is officially the peak of training. I've also asked you about this proposal by the MK party. They've submitted a private member's bill which would reserve, it seeks to reserve Spaza shop ownership strictly for South African citizens. What do you make of this approach? Is it sustainable? Look at what Tanzania has done, restricting foreign nationals from participating in specific sectors of the economy. Even when you look at Zimbabwe as well, they've done almost something similar, looking at which sectors actually need to be solely for the locals. We've got that approach as well in South Africa, in a way, when you look at our laws. But in this case, the MK party is saying, let's be more specific in as far as Spaza shop ownership is concerned, given what we have seen. What do you make of what they are proposing? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702.
Hi, Clement. Listening to your Comrades training schedule and the changes and remembering mine. And one of the things I used to do quite regularly over the weekend was do 2 21s, one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday, and do them quite fast. And I found that was such an incredible way of getting strong and fit without being on your feet for 4 hours. You know, you sub 2 hours each day. Anyway, I'm wishing you all the best. Take care.
Hi, Clement. Bonolo here from Pretoria East. You're Clement. My training this year, it's a demo training. You know, what happened was I had an injury at Omdidam Ultra. So I missed 2 oceans. It's only now that I'm back on the road. On Friday, I managed to run My Way 42. And then yesterday, I did Centurion to Silver Lakes. And then on Saturday, I'm doing mid-Rand Striders 60. And I should be ready. Maybe Experience will help me finish this, comrades. But I'm hoping for the best with this demo training.
Yeah, all the best. All the best. Yeah, it's crazy because it's so unpredictable. You could get injuries, you could get sick, but hey, when you fall, you recover and you're back on the road.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Lorato, you're calling us from Newlands. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. My contribution is regarding these illegal migrants. So I think it's us, our sisters, that are selling the country, because they get married to these people for 300 rand, 500, then they run to Moja Love, Channel 157, they go to fake marriages. Then we have to fight for them to get divorced. So how many of those that haven't gone to Channel 157 on Moja Love for fake marriages? So we, our sisters, are the ones that are selling our country.
All right, Lorato in Newlands, thank you for your thoughts. Rose in Joburg, hi.
Hi, Clement. I just to add, can our country, our society also take accountability for what we have made this country to? We cannot take away the fact that our grandparents built and they occupied Spaza shops so proudly, and then we allowed foreigners to come in and take over. In all our townships, these things exist. So can we also take accountability for what we have led this country to become? Thank you.
Rose, thank you so much for your thoughts in Johannesburg. Busiso, you're in Montana. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Shop, man. Go ahead.
Yes, no, I wanted to weigh in on the MK bill to ring-fence Spaza shops, for South Africans. Look, I mean, I think in principle it's good, it's well, but the main thing, my concern is one, to say what is the impact of Spaza shops from an economic point of view contribution, because I believe margins there are very, very thin, and I don't think it will have much of a bigger, impact, unless probably maybe if we can get someone who are in that industry just to explain, what are the margins. But I know with supermarkets, look, margins are very, very, very thin. So, look, it might be good to have it, but it is good. The impact of it, that's my worry. So I think probably maybe we need to do an exercise of unpicking, to say, will it really have a positive impact, in improving lives of South Africans if they own so. If we can do that exercise, I'm happy to can support it.
Yeah, and I guess so it's also, I mean, Spaza shops mostly are, the impact is felt by the community, right? And I think there are people who own Spaza shops who are okay with those small margins of profit, because for them this is more of a long-term. I mean, where I grew up, we used to know Spaza shops have been around from the time we were still young until we are much older, so they're in it for the long haul. And also you've got opportunity to go and get something on credit. There are those kind of gentlemen's agreements that you can reach with the Spaza shop owners, and I think that's very important, especially for the communities, given the state of the economy now. But the challenge for me, Spusiso, is when you've got some Spaza shops that are not selling good, like they're selling fake food or counterfeit food, that becomes dangerous then. Because if people are coming in with these products, they're going to price them lower, so which means any other person who competes with them is never going to win. Because trust me, anybody who is struggling financially, they will go to a place that sells them something at a lower price. And I think for me, that's what the solution must also answer is, how are we keeping our communities safe? Because we've opened the door too wide to a point that it's actually quite detrimental to the very communities that these shops must service.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And lastly, I think maybe the other thing, this bill, if it comes into effect, if then they can try and, government or small business, enterprise to subsidize, these spaza shops so that they can buy goods, that are of good quality. Then knowing that, then they don't impact their margins. But for you to qualify, you need to be a South African. You need to prove certain things. Then I think we can solve these issues of having kids eating snacks that are expired and things like just
True. Spesiso in Montana, thank you so much for your contribution. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Morning, Clement Manyathela and the 702 listeners level from Pretoria. I agree with this proposal from the MK party that all spazas must be reserved for South African. It's a good idea.
Good morning, Clement. Great show. Thank you so much. Clement, I hear the previous caller talking about getting Ethiopians to pay 50%. But the problem is not with the Ethiopians or the spaza shop owners. The problem is with us, where we, the allegation that says we are registering the spaza shops on behalf of the foreigners. And then the foreigners are then able to work or run the spaza shops because we have registered and they rent from us. This is just not on. The problem is with us.
That's true. In fact, remember when we had so many children dying from consuming these products that we were told they were purchased from these spaza shops? When government decided to start that process of registering the businesses, that was actually just one of the concerns that they raised. That there are South Africans who actually register the businesses in their names, but they're actually not running them. They've been given a fee by the foreign nationals. Foreign nationals are the ones who are running things. But to comply with regulations, then they come forward and register these businesses as if it's their own. But also, South Africans, we are the ones as well that are saying, come and occupy this garage. You can give me this amount of money every month. And even when you can see that there's something untoward here happening, but you only care about what you receive every month. So then kids come, they end up getting food that is not actually conducive for them. They die, they get sick. And what do you do when you see even the unhygienic activities that happen within the shop? What do you do as someone who has given up your garage and you've rented it out or one of your rooms for the foreign nationals to operate from? And to your point, we must all take accountability here. Don't just look at government. Look at what are we doing as South Africans? How have we helped open that door, and how are we not holding these shop owners accountable, whether they are locals or they are foreign nationals? How are we holding them accountable, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
Yo, Clement, you and the SABC continue with this. He rocked up. Guys, his family said he's in a bad shape. The police are saying he's in a bad shape. And yet he just rocked up. Guys, little bit of sensitivity here.
Clement, this is Sam. Yes, I think this proposition by MK Party that foreigners shouldn't own any spaza shop will be sustainable, because remember, in the first place, these foreign-owned spaza shops do not even comply with the Immigration Act to begin with, because Immigration Act says that if you want to open a business in South Africa as a foreigner, you have to invest a minimum of 5 million rands, and you have to employ 60% of South Africans. So they are in violation of the Immigration Act. They are illegal. And another thing is that foreign-owned spaza shops, they are backed up by wholesalers. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not making this about race, but they are backed up by wholesalers that are owned by Indians in areas like Foxburg, Main Reef. I can prove it. I've worked in retail. I know what I'm talking about. So yes, they should be closed down because they are running South African business spaza shops out of business. So this proposition will be sustainable.
Morning, Clement. Yeah, I think this thing for fighting for spaza shop is just a useless thing, Clement, totally. Because tell me one thing. Now, me, I'm in Deflot. we have got like 3 malls, and the one place we have got a boxer store. So tell me, how can they going to survive, these puzzles? Because puzzles is just to make food and do that thing of whatever, scope, whatever. That's what can run now, but the rest is dead. People, they just go to the shops. There are a lot of malls now, lot of big shops. How can you go and buy expired thing than to go to the shop? This thing of fighting Spaza shop is just a dead business, I'm telling you.
Hi, Clement. With regards to the MK party regulation, I think that's the best way to go. There are certain sectors that we personally feel should be owned by South Africans, even employment as well. You're looking at the security business as well, mainly foreigners. You're looking at the hospitality and restaurant waiters and waitresses, same problem. Now you're looking at spaza shops as well. And all of these things are run by syndicates, by the way. So we need to make sure that we clamp down on it, or else we are going to find ourselves in an industry where non-South Africans are going to be able to be employed because they don't belong to a certain country or ethnic group. You see, I don't want to mention names, but we all know who are the majority in the hospitality sector, who are the majority in the security sector. Now we are having the majority now in the spaza shop sector. And all of this money goes out to fund whatever projects that we don't even know. So we need to make sure that we clamp it down as soon as possible.
Yeah, and the thing is, the laws are already there. Like the regulations are very clear around if you operate in specific sectors or who you must hire and who you shouldn't hire as a South African business or as a business operating here. But unfortunately, enforcement is another challenge in this country. Vuyani, you are in Alberton. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hi, Clement. Not to repeat what your callers have said, I fully agree with MK, but our problem is enforcement of the rules. You know, immigration works when we hire the best talent from other countries, not when we adopt other people's social ills, when we have our own. So I think this market is very lucrative. You know, that's why we have them here. And so it's a very, very important market for Kasi economy. It has to be protected. That's it, yeah.
Vuyani in Alberton, thank you. Steve, you are also in Alberton. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madenija.
Sure.
My comment is that I think I support both the two last speakers.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be very careful that we have to go deeper to understand what these guys manage to have the money to finance them. There are evidence that shows that these guys use money laundering in managing those sectors. So if they sell, and I think yourself you have said that if we're gonna compete with them, nobody's gonna buy from us. They're gonna go to those guys. So your previous speaker has said, these guys, we don't know how they use the money to finance other things. These guys, we know them from whatever on the pirates, on the high sea. They have been practicing these things for a long time. Hence, they have to be killing themselves and they have to run away to this side. I want to end by saying, I think our immigration must also try and raise up. And raise up, yes, to say, how come that a person can just come to our country and sell a Mazimba? I mean, Americans will never invite you into their country if you want to come and sell Mazimba. They want to make sure if you can take them to the moon or the Mars. They don't play. So those are the things that I think our leaders must look into and say, we don't hate people, but we must only allow the best to enter so that they can promote our country as the number one. Thank you.
Steve in Alberton, thank you for your contribution.
Good morning, Clement. Great show as usual. Just a case in point. There's Beaumont Street in Poison. opposite Profure. Yeah, that street, the property owners used to have like a space built at the front for Spaza shops. Now one Ethiopian came. How much is this Spaza business owner paying for rent? Say maybe 3,000 a month. Then the Ethiopian will say, I'll pay you 10,000, chase him away. So one by one they did that. And then today, as we speak, Beaumont Street is totally in their hands. The Spaza shops are totally in the hands of the Ethiopians. You can go there, drive there, and have a look. Thank you, Clement. Anonymous, great show.
Maybe South Africans should learn from immigrants who run Spaza shops and start running their Spaza shops themselves. I think it's a matter of learning the skills. If you're prepared to sign over your rights to a Spaza shop via an immigrant, then why not actually take on the business yourself? Get together, make a good shop, a shop that is welcomed by the community, and get on with it. I think, it's just limiting foreigners doesn't mean that actually people are going to be more motivated. I'm not sure.
Good morning, Clement. I am not a supporter of the MK party. I don't like them. However, this time around, I agree with them 100%, even 200% if there is such a thing. My father used to own a supermarket when I was growing up. So if we could do it back then, why can't we still do it now? Why can't we still do it now? And people are wanting to start Spaza shops. But these foreigners don't want us to run our own economy.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi, 702 Landers. My name is Lynette, and I'm an avid 702 listener, and I love being part of the 702 family.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Celebrate Mother's Day on Sunday, the 10th of May at Nairox Sculpture Park in the splendor of the cradle of humankind. Wander through their sweeping landscapes, embrace contemporary sculpture, taste premium Cape wines, and savor gourmet cuisine, all to the sounds of some of South Africa's finest performing artists. Nairox is delighted to welcome Lyra back to their stage, as well as Steve Dyer's band alongside a 20-piece choir. Limited tickets are available from nairoxarts.com. Nairox is a private, not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the AbaNguni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising really from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. Visit chang'anmotors.co.za for more. The AbaNguni S.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We begin with news just in. 7 people have died in a crash between a taxi and a bus in the Eastern Cape. The taxi with staff on board allegedly made a U-turn into the path of the oncoming Algoa bus in Kariega this morning. The Eastern Cape Transport Department says several others were injured, some seriously, and have been taken to nearby hospitals. Department spokesperson Unathi Bingqose says an investigation into the crash is now underway.
And the MEC for Transport in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Klolengata, is extending his sincere word of condolences to those families that have lost their loved ones, while wishing those in hospital a speedy and a full recovery. We are looking into the real cause of this crash, and we are urging road users, motorists in particular, to remain extra vigilant and help us avoid avoidable crashes.
Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has confirmed to EWN that his department will soon release more details about a British tourist who tested positive for hantavirus. The patient has been admitted to a South African hospital. The World Health Organization says 3 people on board a cruise ship are suspected to have died from the disease, though only 1 case has been confirmed in the lab. The vessel was traveling from Argentina to Cape Verde. Nkosi Malinga-Mnisi reports.
Hantavirus is usually spread through contact with infected rodents or their waste, and in rare cases, it can spread between people, causing severe respiratory illness. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has told EWN that he expects a full briefing today from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases.
As you know, this is an international ship that involves the World Health Organization. In South Africa, the key institution is the NICD. I'm only being briefed this morning about it.
Meanwhile, the UK's Foreign Office says it is monitoring the situation and is in contact with the cruise company and local authorities. Kosi Malinga-Mnisi, Eyewitness News.
A crime intelligence officer dealing with agents and informants will be testifying behind closed doors at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today. The officer will only be referred to as Witness G. The Commission last month granted Witness G's application to testify partially in camera, with his lawyers arguing that revealing his identity could potentially place him and his informers in danger. Afara Mushwana reports.
The Madlanga Commission says Witness G will be testifying from an undisclosed location with only his voice being audible. The Commission says some parts of Witness G's testimony may be heard fully in camera, meaning none of the testimony will be made public. Witness G's lawyer, Tshepo Matlala, previously told the Commission about the potential dangers of his client's identity being made public.
For instance, somebody who has witnessed our client with a particular informer, there could be conclusions drawn correctly or incorrectly that the particular individuals that may have been seen with the witness were acting in a capacity of, being informers and the like.
Witness G is likely to be asked to confirm the status of controversial political fixer Brown Mkhotsi, who told the Commission that he was also a crime intelligence informant. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
A 41-year-old man accused of impersonating a state security agency official is due to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. The suspect was arrested by the Hawks last week following intelligence about his activities at an upmarket estate in Pretoria East. He allegedly posed as a state security agency operative. And a magnitude 6.0 earthquake has struck the central Philippine island of Samar. The quake hit at a depth of 73.3 kilometers, about 9 kilometers from the province's coastal town of San Julian. Officials say the earthquake had been strong and sudden, though there had been no immediate reports of injuries. Earthquakes are a near daily occurrence in the Philippines, which is situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is an intense seismic activity stretching from Japan through Southeast Asia and across the Pacific Basin. Gold is trading at $4,587.87 an ounce. The rand is at 16.63 to the dollar, 22.58 to the pound, 19.50 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $107.21 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got delays on the N12 West. This is just as you approach the Kiluli's interchange. Roadworks are taking place along that route. There's also queuing traffic on the R24 West towards the N12 merge. That's due to an accident after Edenville Road.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: 7 people have died in a crash between a taxi and a bus in the Eastern Cape.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. Just a reminder that at 10:30, we are going to continue with a series that we started about a week or so ago. This is a series that is looking at the origins of humanity from the perspective of various scholars and research. So it's like a history lesson of us trying to trace our roots and how we ended up where we are today. So we started with the Khoi and San because really they're at the center of the story about earlier human groups on the continent. And this morning we're going to continue on that journey, and this time we're turning our focus to another group of people, AbaNguni, a people whose story is not just about movement across the continent. There's so much more. So we'll find out about their migration, how they ended up settling where they settled first, and how did we then end up where we are now. So that's at 10:30. But at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature this morning, I'm asking you if you've ever had to take a decision to reconcile with either the father of your children or the mother of your children because your children have put you under pressure to do so. We're going to be discussing the pressure that children sometimes put on their parents to reconcile. Because some parents do reconcile or decide to stay or decide to make it work because they can see that the kids are not taking it well, and the kids have probably told them, this is really stressing me out. You and daddy must come back together, or you and mommy must just sort this thing out. So, have you been in that situation? I'd like to know, and what have been the consequences of that? That's the conversation we're going to have on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
But right now, I want us to focus on something that is quite concerning in the public service. So we're going to speak now to the Public Service Commission Chairperson, Professor Somato Tafikeni, because there are suspended officials in government who continue to receive salaries, and you and I as taxpayers are spending about 800 million rand each year on salaries of suspended public servants at national and provincial level, many of whom have been suspended for many, many years. And there are currently 674 officials at national and provincial that are on suspension. This was reported by the Sunday Times yesterday. Over 500 of them have been suspended for more than 90 days. But there are other officials in the public service who've been suspended for more than a year, many others for more than 2 years. This is concerning. This 800 million rand could be spent on other important things. Professor Somato Tafikeni joins us now on the line. He's the chairperson of the Public Service Commission. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners and your colleagues.
800 million rand a year. That's a lot of money to spend on people who are sitting at home after being suspended.
It is actually a disaster because even that 800 million, we're talking about those that we know. The public service is so fragmented that you will find that in the municipalities you do not have central data to say how many people are suspended. And there are certain public sector employees, such as those in parliament, they are not necessarily under the Public Service Act at this stage. So you will also go to state-owned entities, state-owned companies, and find that their own suspensions are not even factored in here. So my suspicion is that the numbers could be greater.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Public Service Commission, we said, this situation is untenable. It's just not sustainable, and it just demonstrates the lack of seriousness about statecraft and governance.
Yeah, and I mean, then we're talking over R1 billion then, if there are also these other industries and sectors that are not accounted for because there's just no system, centralized system, that accounts for all of them. So, and we'll get to what the solution is, Prof, in a moment. But one of the things that shocked me in this Sunday Times report was this specific case that they cited of a deputy director in the Department of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities who was suspended in 2018 and subsequently found guilty of financial misconduct. That person received more than 5 million rand despite his position being filled by someone else, and the department now wants to transfer him while the matter is in the labor court. Why do government entities or departments often go with this approach of transferring people? Because you'd be told that, someone maybe who was found to have been involved in irregularities in the procurement sector is now being moved to another department that doesn't deal with supply chain and procurement. But still, that person is still getting paid, and their disciplinary hearing often is not even completed. What's the story around these transfers?
There may be two reasons. For example, you find that in these labor-intensive departments, such as your teaching and police,
Mm-hmm.
you may have many people who have done something wrong. Let's say a person has sexually harassed children, and now on suspension, you can't return that person to the teaching environment. But it is also the lack of imagination of people in terms of giving that person some work elsewhere. But the moment you have your internal HR disciplinary processes in place, you ought to release the person at some point. This one of saying it's because the case has not been completed is a demonstration of utter failure within the system of holding people accountable, because you can have your own internal disciplinary process and conclude it without waiting for the prolonged cases at times. Of course, it might be that a person says, I'm waiting for DNA specimen or whatever testing to make sure that the rape was a rape. Therefore, the school doesn't have the technical know-how on how to prove that or otherwise. But in the cases that we've come across, that is just used as an alibi. The real thing here is the collapse of HR units within the organization, or the abuse of the system by those who lead, either HR or sometimes accounting officers, or sometimes the political figures who will have been presiding over the process. The guidelines are clear, and there should be no reason to transfer. But the problem in this country, the absence of a biometric system and integrated data, wherein you disappear in one place and then you are you are placed elsewhere. Or even worse, sometimes people are found to have done something wrong. Then they resign before the disciplinary makes its verdict, something that should change in terms of the law. Then they reappear in another province, in another department, refurbished. Then they get a higher position. Then they get expelled for the same reasons, which is one of the cases that I've come across, because most of these people will always do the same thing with the same external persons if it was involving tenders. Then that same person got even a higher posting in the third department where they went into. So we're one of few countries on earth which is blessed with failing upwards.
Why do precautionary suspensions of public officials tend to be so prolonged? Because one of the cases that were cited was of an Enfileni municipality accountant and a senior clerk who were suspended 7 years ago. They were paid 9 million rand. And just one wonders, in fact, you've also spoken about a case of someone who was suspended for 12 years with full pay, who complained later about not getting a bonus. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. And there must be somewhere a blockage when it comes to disciplinary processes, or that department really is not serious about holding that person accountable. They've just put them at home because maybe that person was proving to be a challenge.
In fact, for me, if anything, when I joined the Public Service Commission, fresh from the academic world, and this story was sort of told nonchalant, blasé, it's more like one of those things. It's one of the things that shocked me, and I wondered, am I in the right place? Then we went to pursue the matter of these prolonged suspensions, saying we are willing to go to the to the cabinet, to argue that by a certain date, everybody should report back or their salary be stopped. And so that we know if there is a tangible case or not. You'll be surprised that most of these cases, it's when internal players collude, maybe say so-and-so is a problem, or we want to do something to remove so-and-so. It's better to just suspend, use this blunt instrument against the regulation from the Public Service and Administration Department, which says you can only suspend a person for 60 days if needs be whilst collecting information. But if the person doesn't pose any threat within, the person can continue working whilst the disciplinary is taking place. Only after 60 days that the chairperson of a disciplinary process will say, I would like another 30 days so that we finalize collecting information, or I would like an extension, but that cannot go into years. So here it's either collusion or complete failure of the system. And remember, you can't then appoint people in the position of a person who is still there in the establishment. You can only bring them to act, which means you've crippled that particular department or institution permanently, because the person who is brought in to act sometimes doesn't have the specialization of that particular area. Never mind that the morale of other employees who have to brave the elements every morning, who have to pay for fuel, who have to pay for food, who have to drop kids and start running towards work. You have a person who is sitting at home doing nothing but being paid.
Yeah. And of course, in other cases, as you've indicated, suspension may be used to remove officials who refuse to cooperate with improper procurement or irregular appointments or unlawful dismissal, whatever the case is. And those who are compliant can be placed on those roles, or suspensions get used to protect implicated officials. So you create an impression that there is actually accountability, but what you're doing is actually drag that DC while the official continues to receive their salary. What's the solution then, Prof? As you said, it's untenable, the situation is unsustainable, it speaks to the collapse of HR units. So what can be done?
The first one is to make sure that department that issues regulations is given capacity and the mandatory duty to monitor how many people are on suspension, how many people, have completed the process, and if they are being placed elsewhere, is that placing elsewhere reasonable and within the law? The second one is simply to make sure that people who manage those prolonged suspensions and departments or institutions can never get, clean audit if they do not demonstrate that they were managing those processes properly. And people who are in those units do not get the pay progression, promotions, and so forth, renewal of contracts when you have such staggering things if it can be proven that failure was due to them doing nothing. Same with the accounting ecosystem, parliament, minister, mayors, and so forth. Those things ought to be highlighted as standing items. Then, of course, I've already alluded to the integrated data system, which will tell each time this thing is done and indicated. Nowadays, with AI assistance, it is easier to track and monitor and make decisions to see who is on suspension, just at a click of a button, rather than saying we need to go elsewhere. Remember, we raised this issue almost 3 years ago, quite forcefully. But somehow today we're still talking about it. The same thing with the ghost employees. You find that years pass. In a common sense and honest system, within a few months you would have solved those things, then have some standardization of public service or the public sector generally, so that you do not have people who say, no, we're in a different policy regime, we're in the municipalities, we're in a different policy regime, we're in parliament, we're in a different policy regime, we're in this and that, so that you do have a dashboard where you can see all these things. And ministers ought to also have their performance, as well as the DGs or HODs, aligned to this particular problem, because it is a serious problem for the state.
So how close are we to getting there?
At least the problem has been recognized. We're beginning to have some degree of cooperation, professionalization of public service, which will also change the manner of appointment of people. The recent policies which delineate political and administrative roles of accounting officers, as well as the Public Service Commission bill, once passed by the NCOP, because National Assembly has overwhelmingly supported it, then our powers will extend to local government, to state entities, which all along we were told, no, you can only deal with the department and talk about those, but not deal with them directly. Now that the powers will be extended, I do think that it should be possible. We will also have single public administration in a sense. It will be easier to say these are the new laws and this is how they should be applied. And of course, we're working with the Auditor General and other constitutional bodies to say, let's combine our efforts so that the sampling by the Auditor General should be combined with other observations of entities such as the Public Service Commission and others, to make sure that we have combined assurances here. So there are reforms taking place, if supported, because the other problem with South Africa, good policies, we are not lacking in those. But the issue of coordination, fragmentation, and implementation is still a huge problem. And I'm beginning, Clement, to be convinced. I'm developing a concept which I call the political economy of inefficiency. Our inefficiency as a country is not by default, it is by design. It's a business model for other people.
Yeah, it's quite shocking, because those are people, to think that there are people whom inefficiency can benefit at that level, then we're fighting a beast here, because you trying to fix things and bring about reforms that are going to get us to a better place is actually threatening their business prospects. So there's going to be a fight back.
Let me give you a simple example. In the Northwest Province, the airport is solidly in place, but there is no flight flying out of Mahikeng, the only province without such. Why? It's over the tenders, who was given control over what. There was a year when in the Eastern Cape and Limpopo, it took almost 6 months with radio talk shows, TV showing this, textbooks not delivered. Not because there were no textbooks. They were in the warehouse. And it was just over the tenders. I think this tender system is becoming a cancer that is choking our system. Now you realize that if you ask an aunt in your village, we have a crisis of delivering books before schools open. That aunt will be able to just mobilize bakkies and say, give me the delivery notes, and they will solve that problem in 1 week. And a complex state such as ours cannot deliver textbooks because people have minimized the maximum and maximized the minimum, where tenders have become the national goal rather than saying they were a service to reach a particular goal. It cannot be. So our corruption at some levels will not look like state capture. It will look like these inefficiencies which have become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Water delivery, where just leakages are allowed so that people who have tankers will, prosper. So inefficiency in this country is a multi-billion industry, and it is deliberate. Similarly, we debate about the issue of, foreign nationals, this and that. There's nothing to be added. If you were to just apply the law which exists,
that's it.
You will have solved 90% of the problems. Now, imagine when they say small businesses that come to open, you need to have 4 million to show that you are coming to invest. I mean, you know, a person who has a barber shop who cut 5 heads per day cannot have had a 5 million. And at times, we just allow for such things. You know that we do have this thing of anybody who wants to be a priest or who wants to practice apprenticeship in crime, they say South Africa will be your best bet. As soon as you land, you'll just mention some words in the constitution, but the laws are there. But when you look at the inefficiency, Department of Labor, which is supposed to monitor, is not working with the Department of Home Affairs, which issue permits. And Department of Home Affairs is not working with the Department of Higher Education, which has a list of scarce skills. Then you can see that this inefficiency is but deliberate, because people can no longer live without these inefficiencies, which basically is corruption by other means.
Yeah, they've created an entire industry. All right, let's do these WhatsApp voice notes that have come through before we wrap up our chat.
Hi, Clement and the team. Hi, Prof. Prof, don't you think that we need to interrogate the role played by the unions? Because on some occasions, they tend to protect their members without considering the allegations. David in Rosebank.
If you add bonuses and benefits and perks and all the other extra nonsense that we pay for politicians to get for free, it's probably triple that 800 million rand conservative estimate per year.
Yeah, that's really likely. Professor Fikeni, there was a question there about interrogating the role played by unions. In your experience, your observation, what have you seen in as far as their role is concerned?
It is quite fragmented. Let's put it this way. Unions are always necessary to fight for the rights of workers. And that should be respected as one of the constitutional requirements. But there are instances where you find that, and these tend to be localized rather than being a national position of a union, where you find that there is a certain strong man who just cannot be touched and so forth, and managers start trembling because it's the unions. Leadership and accountability, it's about having courage to take decisions. But once you say, I fear touching other people, then problem comes, because any application of discipline inconsistently itself becomes corruption. So you can no longer, say you are applying it on the next person to demonstrate that you can do it if you are not doing it because you fear some of the unions or union leaders. I do think that managers should just manage with courage. Of course, sometimes it used to be compounded by the fact that some of the unions would be linked to the political principal, and the political principal, therefore, being the person who might be the minister or HOD and so forth. So that in itself compounds the factor. But there are several unions in the public sector, your NEHAU, your SATU, your Public Service Association, and so forth, who compete for the space, and they self-correct at times when one of theirs tend to go the other way. But ultimately, when you take a leadership position, you should not take a leadership position because you want to be safe, you want to be loved. You should take it because there is a principle that you stand by, and there is always a guide of constitutional values and principles in the section 195 of the Constitution that you should just follow.
Professor Somato Tafikeni, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. He's the chair of the Public Service Commission. Let's just hope that they are able to get somewhere closer to finding solutions to this mess in our public service. I mean, 800 million rand, that's how much you and I as taxpayers are spending on people that are just sitting at home because they've been suspended. And the prof says that doesn't even include state SOEs, doesn't include the local governments or the municipalities, the metros, doesn't include certain state agencies. Can you imagine how much money is? Some of them are suspended for 12 years on full pay, and they still even complain about their bonuses. What do you mean? You haven't been at work for 12 years on full pay, and you still are arrogant enough to ask for some bonus? And as the prof says, we're dealing here with a political economy of inefficiency, and that inefficiency is by design. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Sfiso has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines at just after 10:30. Sfiso, there are issues there between SASSA and the Post Bank. What's happening?
Well, it seems like they've been sorted, Clement. SASSA has assured eligible grant recipients that the discontinuation of several Postbank services will not impact them. Postbank is shifting over the counter services to alternative banking channels. The move follows the expiry of a service agreement that ends a century-long partnership for cash deposits and withdrawals of Postbank offices. KwaZulu-Natal disaster management teams have been put on standby following a warning for severe thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected in the province starting tomorrow. Forecasters say the storm will lash areas including the eThekwini and Msunduzi municipalities. And following high-profile testimony from billionaire Elon Musk, one of OpenAI's co-founders will testify today in the California lawsuit brought by the world's richest man against the creators of ChatGPT. Musk is seeking to force his rivals in artificial intelligence development to revert to a non-profit foundation. Greg Brockman, a co-founder and president of OpenAI, will face questions from Musk's lawyers and when he appears today in the Auckland courthouse. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling in Sandton, we've got heavy traffic volumes. This is along the Grayston Drive off-ramp towards the M1 exit due to a major accident scene. It's still there, causing these long delays coming out of Rivonia Road. Please be on the lookout there and try to avoid. Rather use Marlborough Drive if you want to exit the area, or even Rivonia Road. If you are traveling on the M2 West, we've got delays towards Main Reef Road coming out of the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the R24 West at the N12 merge. An accident reported there, causing delays coming out of Edenville Road. Please approach with care or use the N17 West, especially if you're heading towards areas like Alberton or Germiston. And then, of course, traffic lights remains out of order in Sandton at the M1 and Grayston Drive, and four-ways at Monte Cassino Boulevard and Winnie Mandela Drive, as well as in Rivali at the Nasrec Road and Main Reef Road. Please be on the lookout there as well. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Drive with John Perlman.
On our show, we cover the news, but we try to do it in a slightly different way. If there's breaking news, we give you the facts, but we're always looking for somebody who can explain to us why something is happening, and we apply that thinking to everything we do. That, yes, you want to know the what, but crucially, you want to know the why, and most important of all, you want to know how it might be fixed. The wonderful thing is we don't have one kind of listener who listens to our show. I think the kind of listeners we have are people who want to be heard, but they definitely listen very, very carefully. Once they've made up their mind, they come in very, very quickly, very sharp, very focused, and if they're not happy with the answer, you're going to find out very, very soon. And it's great because it keeps us interested and it keeps us on our toes. We're putting the show together, but thank goodness the listeners are keeping us accountable, and that's good for everyone.
702 Drive with John Perlman. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Mzansi Ballet proudly presents Heal the World, an inspiring new ballet set to the iconic music of global legend Michael Jackson, choreographed by South African prima ballerina and award-winning choreographer Angela Revi in collaboration with renowned Mexican guest dancer and choreographer George Wade. This wonderful and powerful production celebrates dance as a force for connection, healing, and transformation. It tells a deeply human and emotionally charged story of resilience and self-discovery. Heal the World runs from the 13th of May to the 7th of June at the Peter Turin Theatre at Monte Cassino. Get your tickets now through Quicket. Web tickets, that is.
Are you or someone you know visually impaired? Well, I am. My name is Ngabagazi Kyalisi and I'm a cybersecurity technician.
Ngabagazi's journey began at the Hein Wagner Academy, a specialized learning center dedicated to empowering visually impaired students.
At the academy, I was taught never to give up on my dreams. I have earned national and international certificates in the field of cybersecurity through a learnership sponsored by ABSA, and that has unlocked my potential.
The Hein Wagner Academy offers a wide range of courses, helping students gain economic independence and social connections through training, sport, recreation, and the arts. With full boarding facilities and a convenient location near shops, it's more than just an academy. It's a gateway to a brighter future.
Why wait? Visit heinwagneracademy.org and unlock your future.
Joburg audiences are loving Pretty Women the musical. Don't miss the Broadway and West End smash hit, packed with romance, laughter, and the unforgettable music of Bryan Adams. Now on stage at Monte Cassino's Teatro for a limited season only until 31 May. Book your seats now at showtime.co.za. Beyond the movie, Pretty Women, the love story you know, the musical you'll never forget. Brought to you by Showtime Management.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Why does this happen? The people who get into university, they've usually the sort of creme de la creme. They've done very, very well at school. Now they find they just can't stay in the institution.
Due to the financial strain, having not thought out all the other enablement tools that are required and that cost money, these kids are dropping out.
Marla Sarir is the CEO at Fundi.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA Business Banking, featuring the AgriTrends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. Get the latest AgriTrends report at absaagritrends.co.za. ABSA is a registered FSP.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
It's going up to 20 minutes before 11 o'clock. So we started a new series about a week or two ago, looking at the origins of humanity from the perspective of various scholars and research. And what we're trying to do is trace our roots and how we ended up where we are. We started by looking at what research says about who were the earlier human groups on the continent. Remember, we spoke to the Khoi about the Khoi and San, because at the center of that story are the Khoi and San. And this morning we continued that journey, and this time we're turning our focus to another group of people, AbaNguni, a people whose story is not just about movement across the continent, but it's about an identity, about language, power, cultural continuity, and from the rise of, great kingdoms to the shaping of modern South Africa's cultural landscape, the Nguni story is one of both unity and diversity. It's a shared origin that really gave rise to distinct nations like the Zulu, Xhosa, Swati, the Ndebele nations. But who are they? Where did they migrate from? And how much of that identity is actually shaped by where they come from? To help us unpack this, we're joined by Professor Boni Zungu, who's the head of School of Languages at the University of Johannesburg. If you've got your own inputs, you've got your thoughts around the movement of AbaNguni in the African continent, please give us a call on 011-883-0702. Maybe you've got some questions as well. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Professor Zungu, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you this morning?
I'm okay. So last week when we started this series, we spoke about the Khoi and the San as some of the earliest inhabitants. Where do the Nguni then fit into that broader human story?
Thank you very much for having me this morning. Before I respond directly to your question, let me make a disclaimer of the word that I'm going to be using more often this morning, because it may cause some discomfort to some people. I am an onomatician by specialization, so I do focus on words, names, naming processes. So today we are going to talk about AbaNguni or AbaNguni, depending on the dialect that we speak. But I will be referring to the Bantu-speaking groups and Bantu languages. I know in a South African political context, it's a word that doesn't sit well with most people. But because of the origins of the Nguni people, they come from Ndu, and then we use that, we prefix the noun class to marker Aba to show that there is a plural of these people, now Abantu people. So in linguistics, we use Bantu languages. It's not a derogatory term, so I want it to be understood as such. So from a linguistics perspective, when we say Bantu languages, it's not at all related to the political problems or challenges in our country. But to respond to your question, Clement, we Nguni people, we're talking here AmaZulu, AmaXhosa, AmaSwati, AmaNdebele. They all came from Central and West Africa, and obviously they're part of that group that I said it was Bantu-speaking groups. And their languages, they're mutually intelligible. So there's evidence that when they were migrating from the north towards the south, they left a lot of historical and archaeological evidence. So historically, the groups called the Mbonguni or Abambo or Abasembo. Now Abambo, they originate from the Mkize clan. So their migration about 7,000 years ago, which is like 5,000 BCE, started a journey towards the south, where now AmaZulu, AmaXhosa, AmaNdebele, and AmaSwati are found. But we do still have some of the Ngoni people in Zambia who have a similar cultural kind of veneration as the Ngunis in South Africa. So this term Nguni is just an ethno-linguistic umbrella that covers these four groups, AmaZulu. I don't want to say tribes, AmaZulu, AmaXhosa, AmaSwati, NamaNdebele. So it's an ethno-linguistic umbrella. So we call all of them AbaNguni or AbaNguni, depending on the dialect you speak.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I want us to get into the migration and identity, because I'm trying to understand what the Abantu's migration tell us about how African identities were formed. Like, are we more connected than we think? Because you've mentioned Zambia, but even when you go to Tanzania, you see even Malawi, Mozambique. I mean, in Zimbabwe, there are lots of Ndebele people there. So how connected are we? Because sometimes I feel like we don't understand that we are more connected than we actually think. You can see traces of this group of people across the continent.
We are super connected, Clement, more than we know. It's just that most people don't do research, so they just think, oh no, because we have our cultural traits are somehow different. So we are different people. There's something that we call in linguistic relativism, which means that the manner in which we view the world we live in is informed by the language you speak. So as I said, that these 4 languages are mutually intelligible. It means that the manner in which we view the world, even though it's not the same, but it's similar. So we have the same migration history. We have similar traditions. We've adapted some of the things from other languages because of language contact.
Mhm.
So you may find that people who are isiZulu speaking, if they're in KZN North Coast, they now have adopted some of the things that are done in Mozambique because they're closer to the border. Same as Amaswati, who may have adopted some of the things that are done at Eswatini. So those are the things that may make us not to be exactly the same, but we're quite similar because of our history. As I said also earlier, our archaeological evidence, when you look at how we use colors, for instance, for our traditional regalia, it's the same. So the identity is the same. I was at this weekend, so I was looking at the beads that were worn by the young maidens. So those beads, they tell a particular story about the Zulu people. When you go to look at the Ndebele art, it tells a particular story about a particular community. So how we communicated before we could read or write, it was similar. We would use our traditional regalia, a particular color says something. If you're wearing white, it means you're pure. You're a virgin. If you're wearing this. So even our traditional regalia, they say something. If you are Xhosa speaking and you're wearing umbhaco, it says, this is a married woman. So those things are very, very, very similar. Even now, the languages we speak, that we adopted the clicks from the Khoi Stan.
Mhm.
So isiZulu and isiXhosa, we have more clicks than we did before because we have what we call the proto-nguni, the noun classes. Let alone that we were taught the system of classifying nouns by anthropologists. We were not Nguni language speakers at the time, but we have since adopted that into our languages. But our languages are similar. The orthography may be different, but we understand each other, and because we're coming from the same root. So our identity is largely shaped by language and culture, and because of the similar, not the same, similar worldview that we have.
And speaking of the languages, how did this one group, Bantu people, then how did this group evolve into this distinct identities like, Zulu, Xhosa, Swati, Ndebele? Because yes, you said this traditions have been similar, but at what point then do we start seeing the distinct identities of the different subgroups?
I think we've started with how each language group, I say language group, not ethnic group, each language group decided to fight for the land. Because when we look back in retrospect, we may look at it as some of the nations or some of the language groups are more aggressive than others. It was a mindset that was justified at the time that if you want to unite people, you have to actually fight them into submission. In order for them to conform, you have to fight them and then actually conquer them. That's the only way they will be able to actually conform. Obviously, when we're talking about that, we'll think of Isilo Shaka and how he would fight some of the smaller tribes to make sure that the Zulu nation was bigger. But in all these 4 language groups, there were Awinza, Maxhosa, etc., and they were trying to unify these nations, these big nations. But because of the language contact, we have evolved culturally, and also because of different dialectologies, then we've become what may seem to a lay person or to a person who doesn't study this for a living as if we're different, but it's because of who we've come into contact with. So our thinking has now shifted. With Amaxhosa, we have a lot of different tribes and people who speak not just Xhosa, but it's Isibaca, Simpondo, etc., etc. Same with this Zulu, same with Isindebele and Isiswati. So that has created a divide. And because we are evolving as a people, and also because now we're not migrating together from the north, our histories, because we're rewriting our history, now it's becoming more different going forward. So 20 years from now, the kids will be alive at that time. We'll have a different sense of identity when it comes to AbaNguni or AbaNguni, depending on the dialect that you speak. So they will see these nations as totally different to what I'm talking about today.
Yeah. 9 minutes before 11 o'clock. After the break, I'm coming to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. If you've got inputs or maybe you've got questions, Professor Zungu, bring them up on the call 011-883-0702 or on WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators, and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk Babiza Bonke. On Sunday, the 26th of July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Johannesburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be part of something special. You can go and enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the city of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babiza Bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
Reliable water services depend on a sustainable system. When residents pay for municipal services, it enables Johannesburg Water to maintain infrastructure, repair leaks, upgrade networks, and continue delivering essential water and sanitation services to the city. Revenue collected from services is reinvested into operating and strengthening the water system for everyone. By paying for services, residents play an important role in supporting the sustainability of Johannesburg's water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
6 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're wrapping up our conversation with Professor Boni Zungu as we have been looking at AbaNguni or AbaNguni, who were a group really that moved from Central and Eastern Africa to eventually settle in present-day South Africa. And we're looking at how that became. How did this group of people then get to evolve into distinct identities like the Zulu, Xhosa, Swati, Ndebele? I've got some questions coming through and some inputs on the WhatsApp line, so let's start there.
Clement, good afternoon. Paul in Randfontein. I'm glad that you're having this conversation today about, and I realized that I missed last week's episode about the Nguni people of the African continent. That's what I call them. The first time I heard the version that the lady is explaining here about the regions of the Nguni people from the Central Africa, was by a white man, elderly white man back in the 90s, and I thought he was incorrect and he was dehumanizing the Nguni people, and I thought it was completely wrong. I never bothered to go and do research on it or read anything about it, but I'm amazed that it's true. And when Thabo Mbeki did his genealogy, his origins, he also discovered that Thabo Mbeki also discovered that he has his origins, his ancestry from up in Africa. I cannot remember clearly, but he mentioned something about the Central African origins. Thank you for having this conversation. Very enlightening and confirming things to me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your WhatsApp. Someone else is asking here, Professor Zungu on the WhatsApp line says, "Hi Clement, with respect to the Nguni, where does the Tsonga then fit in? In my experience, the Tsonga language is very similar to most Nguni languages." That's a question from Koto.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Clement, for that question. I think he's referring to Shangaan language that is spoken in Mozambique, which is very, very similar to isiZulu. Some of these languages are cross-border languages. So if you speak isiZulu, you'll be able to understand Shangaan from Mozambique. But with the Tsonga, the South African Tsonga, it's a bit different to isiZulu. So in this instance, Tsonga and Chivenda are different, and they're from a different group than the Nguni group. So they're not at the core of the discussion that we have today. But if he's talking about the Mozambique Shangaan, it's very, very similar to isiZulu. And you can understand what they're saying, and they can understand what he's saying as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me wrap up with these messages from Madala, who says, "Clement, I'm a Zambian national residing in South Africa. My surname is Zulu in Zambia. We're actually known as the Nguni." And then another one says, "Clement, when I hear South African languages like Zulu, it's clear to me that we come from the same place. I'm Swahili speaking from Krongo." That's a message there from Christian. So thank you for all these messages, and thanks to you, Professor Boni Zungu, who is the head of School of Languages at the University of Johannesburg, for such an enlightening conversation.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 Landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities, and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is enjoy yourself. With Norwegian Cruise Line, you can sail to over 400 destinations worldwide effortlessly. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here. T's and C's apply.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The testimony of a crime intelligence officer at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has been delayed once again due to technical difficulties. The officer, appearing partially in camera under the pseudonym Witness G, is testifying from an undisclosed location. His identity has been withheld from the public after the commission determined that revealing his identity could put his life at risk. Given that he's testifying from a remote location as opposed to the usual venue in Pretoria, the Commission is experiencing technical issues. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson has told the Commission chairperson, Mbuyiseni Madlanga, that he's struggling to hear the witness.
Sorry, Chair, I'm really struggling to hear. I'm not sure how we deal with this because these are fairly routine questions and answers, but at a later stage, it's going to become much more important.
We are experiencing sound problems. We'll adjourn for a few minutes. I won't say for how long.
Social Security Agency SASSA has assured eligible grant recipients that the discontinuation of several Postbank services will have no impact on them. Postbank is shifting over-the-counter services to alternative banking channels. The move follows the expiry of a service agreement that ends a century-long partnership for cash deposits as well as withdrawals at Postbank offices. SASSA spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi assures that grant payments will go ahead as scheduled this month.
As per the norm in our payment system, on Tuesday we are starting with the older persons, followed by disability on Wednesday, and then we round off with children grants. We then implement what we call the fourth payment day. Maybe some beneficiaries who may or could not receive their grants on their usual dates due to stringent social grants review processes.
KwaZulu-Natal disaster management teams have been put on standby following a warning for severe thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected in the province starting tomorrow. Forecasters say the storm will lash areas including the eThekwini and Sunduzi municipalities. Provincial Cooperative Governance spokesperson Senzelwe Mzila.
MEC Buthelezi has assured residents that all necessary precautions have been made to ensure that the province is safe during inclement weather conditions.
And following high-profile testimony from billionaire Elon Musk, one of OpenAI's co-founders will testify today in the California lawsuit brought by the world's richest man against the creators of ChatGPT. Musk is seeking to force his rivals in artificial intelligence development to revert to a non-profit foundation. Greg Brockman, co-founder and president of OpenAI, will face questioning from Musk's lawyers today in the Oakland courthouse. OpenAI CEO and co-founder Sam Altman, who in 10 years has gone from being Musk's protege to a bitter rival, is not expected to take the stand until later this month. The outcome of the case could shape the future of OpenAI, the fast-rising generative AI giant now valued at over $850 billion and preparing for an IPO. Gold is trading at $4,587.87 an ounce. The rand is at 16.63 to the dollar, 22.58 to the pound, 19.50 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $107.21 a barrel.
And traffic remains heavily backed up on the Greyston Drive off-ramp towards the M1. This is due to a major accident scene. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in the city of Tshwane, queuing traffic on the N14, both directions in and out of Trichet and Euphus Road. Please approach with care or use the N1 South as an alternative.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the testimony of a crime intelligence officer at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has been delayed once again due to technical difficulties.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thanks for staying with us here on 702. It's time for our Family Matters feature.
702 Family Matters.
So, on our Family Matters feature, we discuss all things about family and their structures and the issues that many of us as families deal with. And today we're having a conversation about something that is a reality for a lot of couples out there, for a lot of people. I want us to talk about the pressure that children sometimes put on their parents to reconcile. Whether after their parents have separated, or there's a divorce, or there's been a conflict, many children, and to them, many of these children, the idea of family is tied to togetherness. So when that breaks, they don't just grieve it, but sometimes they try to fix it. But the question you've got to ask yourself is, at what cost? Because as adults, we often think of children as observers in relationships, right? We think they're watching, they're learning, they're adjusting. But there are instances where they become active participants, and they can even become influencers in the decisions that their parents make. Because children can pressure a parent to reconcile with their partner, meaning their other parent, because maybe they miss the intact family structure. Maybe they believe reconciliation will restore emotional safety, or they struggle with change and uncertainty. In fact, research shows that when parents separate, children often experience emotional distress. They experience insecurity, the fear of loss. And in response to that, children then try to restore stability by pushing parents back together. So they almost feel responsible for fixing the family. And sometimes they develop loyalty conflicts, and they feel torn between both parents. And I'd like to know if you've ever decided to reconcile with a partner because of pressure from the kids. Have you perhaps resisted that pressure? How have you navigated that? You can give us a call to share your thoughts and experiences on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. And Tabiseng Moeketsi is a counseling psychologist joining us to guide us through this conversation. Tabiseng, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. When we talk about children who push for their parents to reconcile, what is really going on psychologically, just underneath that request?
This is a very difficult conversation, but also one that is very common. It's a very common occurrence, because when parents separate, usually they don't involve their children in terms of what happens during the separation and what will happen to the well-being of the child. So they discuss things alone and never really go to children and say, this is what is going to happen, this is how it's going to happen, this is how it's going to affect you, this is how we're going to try not to make it affect you that way. And therefore, to make them feel secured emotionally and otherwise. So because children are guessing, and they also have their own agenda, they don't understand what's going on, and ultimately they think, maybe I'm the one who caused the conflict between mom and dad. Maybe I'm the one who is causing the rift between mom and dad. So I am the one who's supposed to fix it, and I'll do anything in my power to try and fix it. And secondly, they're thinking about their well-being as well. There was a family structure that was...
Oh, Tabiseng, apologies there. I'm going to put you back to the producers because the line is cracking, and we want to be able to hear you very well. So I'm going to put you back to the producers to try and maybe call you on a different line. And as we try to fix that, we're going to take a quick ad break. And then when we come back, we'll continue this chat with Tabiseng. But please tell me how you've navigated a scenario like that. And also, when you're separating with the father or the mother of your children, how did you even broach that conversation with your children? Do you sit down as both parents and explain what's going on? How do you raise it in a way that doesn't make the children feel like they are causing the rift, right? Because as Tabiseng said, sometimes children feel the responsibility to fix it and get you guys to come back together, because there is some guilt that they feel because they feel responsible for having caused that conflict or that divorce. So how have you navigated that? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. I'm told that Tabiseng line is much better now, so let's try that again. Yes, Tabiseng, you were still explaining psychologically what really lies underneath these children who always want to bring their parents together.
Yes, yes. And I was saying because of feeling guilty that maybe they are the ones who are responsible for the separation or the rift between the two parents, they will try and decide to solve it. And sometimes because of fear of losing the formal structure that they are used to, knowing that there's mom and dad in the house. Whether mom and dad are fighting, whatever they are doing, the children don't care. All they want is to see the mom and dad together. And maybe one day they'll be able to speak to each other like proper adults and be able to resolve their issues. So for them, the main goal is let's just stay together, whatever happens.
So how do you then deal with a scenario as a parent or parents when you tell your children that, mommy and daddy are no longer going to be together anymore for whatever reason? Maybe there's a divorce. Maybe you're telling them about the separation. And then the kids say, no, but why are you doing that? You guys just have to fix it. What's the best way to respond? And I'm asking that question because I'm trying to understand, how do we distinguish between a child who's just expressing love and a child who's perhaps carrying an emotional burden that's just too heavy for them, and that's why they feel the responsibility to get you guys to fix your issues and get back together?
Firstly, to see if the child is feeling responsible for the separation, they will actually express it. Children can't pretend, so they will express it and ask questions. What did I do, mommy? What did I do, daddy? Is it because I'm a naughty child? Is it because I didn't do my homework? Is it because I like playing with my friends? They'll ask questions that are related to them and themselves to understand why the separation is happening. And as a parent's responsibility is to say, you are a child, you need to be a child. And therefore, when this is happening, it's separation between mommy and daddy, but it's not a separation between mommy and daddy with the kids.
Yeah.
So meaning we are not separating to the kids, we are separating with each other. That's the first point. And second point, assure the child that we are separating, but we are still your parents, which means we still love you, and which means we'll still do everything that we always did for you after this. So the relationship between mommy and daddy is not there, but the relationship between them and us as children will continue. And then you explain how that will happen. If, for instance, a couple was living together with the kids, you explain who will be the responsible parent that will take the kids as a primary caregiver, and the other one may be moving out or something like that. And how often will the other one be able to see the children? Obviously, before you do that, you have a conversation with yourselves. Who is most capable of taking care of the children on a day-to-day basis, taking to school, uniform, homeworks, things like that. And then you decide as a couple that, okay, mommy or daddy, we are the one who's appropriate. And so that when you explain, you say, mommy will be staying with you or daddy will be staying with you because daddy is the one who always takes you to school. He is better at doing homework with you. Daddy is da-da-da, but mommy will be staying 2 streets across from here and he'll be able to check you on a daily basis.
And of course, that's in cases where the parents get along or they choose to get along and put their differences aside to think about the kids. But I mean, in many cases, Ntabi, that conversation doesn't even arise. It's almost assumed that a woman must be the one that lives with the kids. It's very seldom that you'll have men take the kids up and that becomes their responsibility. So the question then is, because that's a situation where the parents are not getting along can create perhaps a loyalty conflict that the children are confronted with. So they're feeling torn between both parents.
It's very, very common. And the thing is, you cannot avoid it. When parents separate or when they divorce, they have a conflict with themselves. And as they have a conflict with themselves, they're thinking only about themselves. And they are also blaming the other parent for whatever that has happened. And because they are blaming the other parent, they want to come out as a better parent to the children. And as they do that, sometimes without even noticing it, they actually speak badly or do badly to the parent that is estranged, to say, that one won't take care of you, that one won't do this and this. And they start speaking badly of each other. And as a result, it results in children having to now choose between the two, which is the most difficult situation because children love their parents equally. There's no better one. They see them as the same but different. So there's no, like, I love my dad more or my mom more. It's a matter of saying I prefer my mom more because mom is playful, dad is too serious. But they love the parents the same way. So it becomes a problem there when parents cannot actually separate issues between being parents and being in a relationship themselves. That's the most difficult part. And how you navigate that situation is that one of the parents, most of the time, is rational enough to realize that this is going to destroy my kids. So they try by all means to protect them by not involving them in the process.
What happens when reconciliation is unhealthy? So when the fixer child is trying to get mommy and daddy or whatever together and the reconciliation is just unhealthy. Like, how should a parent then respond when a child is pushing for reconciliation, but that relationship was toxic or harmful? Because as a parent, maybe you don't want to speak bad about the other parent because you know that you're trying to co-parent, but sometimes the kids just don't get it. Like, but why, mom? Or why, dad? Why wouldn't you just want to fix it? And if you go into details, then you make the other parent appear weird, which then affects their relationship. So what's the best way to deal with it, especially in cases where reconciliation is just unhealthy and not possible?
I like the fact that you mentioned that when you go deeper into the details, it will make you look like you are bad-mouthing the other parent. And you are just stating facts that this and this and this is happening. So because you are aware of that this and this is too bad, and the child won't understand why it's happening, and the child will think, oh, does it mean mommy is bad? It will paint the other parent badly. You don't even go there. You explain it to the child as in it's for the best for us to be separate, because when we are together, things don't go well and we don't agree on things. Mommy and daddy are good as separate people, but when they come together, they bring out the worst in each other. So the best solution for all of us is for us to be separate so that you can focus on you as our children separately from you, and we become healthy. And the important thing is to emphasize the health part of the relationship, that for as long as mom and dad are together, we can relate in a healthy way. But when we are separate, we can try and relate in a healthy way, which means we can become healthy parents to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's so tough because it also forces children to mature quickly. When you are being set down by your parents at 13 or 14, and you must understand what an unhealthy relationship is. If they say to you, we're not healthy for each other, I mean, what the hell does that even mean to a 13-year-old, right? And this is why I understand that to some of you listening to us, and maybe your parents got divorced when you were young, or you remember how they broke the news to you, it's almost like a blur, right? You didn't even have emotions because you didn't really understand what was going on. Please share your experiences with us. 011-883-0702. We're talking on our Family Matters feature this morning about the pressure that the pressure that children place on their parents to reconcile after a divorce or after a separation, or maybe there's been a conflict. Do you remember when your parents sat you down and told you that they were divorcing? Did they even do that? There are cases where, children were never told by their parents that there's a divorce. Children just woke up one day and the other parent is not in the house. And nobody ever sat them down to explain what was going on. So how was it broken to you? Like, were you the mixed fixer child? Were you trying to get the parents to get back with each other? And as parents who have sat down your children and told them, have they tried to get you to get along with the other parent? How have you navigated that? Give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note. I'll start with those after the break. It's 21 after 11.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Corporates that care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Westgrow, their senior manager, Edu Invest, Wendy Filion, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702. Let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you're not just buying a plan, you're also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover, as well as transport, grocery, and unveiling benefits. Apply today. It's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Looking to upgrade your office furniture this year? Desk & Chair, the direct office furniture manufacturer, has a deal you don't want to miss. Get 5% cash back towards your existing office furniture with all purchases over 350,000 Rand. Contact Desk & Chair now for more info. Visit our newly renovated showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk & Chair. Think, feel, work better. T's and C's apply.
When it comes to resilience, focus, and strength, few South Africans embody it like Gerda Steyn. The Comrades Marathon champion and one of the toughest endurance athletes sits down with Dr. Michael Moll for a powerful conversation you don't want to miss. It's part of Sipla's Health and Mind Matters, a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Together, they unpack mindset, pressure, physical health, and what it really takes to stay strong mentally and physically. Watch the full video now on the Prime Media Plus app or on primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and click on Health Matters.
702
Family Matters.
25 minutes after 11 o'clock. Your calls on 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Have you, as parents, been put under pressure by your children to get back together for whatever reason? And my guest this morning, Tabiseng Moeketsi, who is a counseling psychologist, has explained under what circumstances children sometimes feel the responsibility and the need to get the parents to come back together after a divorce or maybe a separation or after a conflict. Have you dealt with something like that where your children say, please just get back together? And did you do it just for them? Or maybe you were that child that was trying to fix it. How were you affected by either that divorce or the conflict or the separation? And when you try to fix it, how did your parents respond? Your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702. Let's start there.
Morning, Clement and team. Well, Clement, on my part, I can say that I've avoided that request, if I may call it that, as it is more healthier for me, for mom and myself, when we are apart. Look, we are both good parents. We were just not the best lovers for one another, you know. But parenting, she's a good mom. I'll never take that away from her. I believe I'm also a good dad. So I think for a better upbringing for the kids, it's best when we are apart than together. If we are together, I don't believe it will do them any good, given the circumstances that led to the breakup. Sam in Alberton, thank you.
Good morning, Clement and the team. With your topic today, it's a very important one. You know, I've got my daughter, obviously, would love for her father and I to be together. So we, you know, I continuously tell her that, you know, we will never be together, but, you know, we love her very much. And recently, I actually just told her father that is it possible to greet each other kindly, because if she keeps picking up that he's cold towards me, unfortunately, it can harm her in the future. So I just have to be open with the father and tell the father that, can you please just at least show that we are not just cordial but friendly towards each other, so that, you know, she can at least get a healthy relationship with the parents, or see a healthy relationship with the parents.
Yeah, true. On Twitter, and to be saying, someone says that she knows of a couple that to this day, after 10 years of separating, they still pretend in front of the kids as if they're still together. Is that advisable? To be saying, where you create an impression to the kids that you're still together, and you come up with all kinds of excuses why you are not the family that you used to. Like maybe dad is busy or mommy is always traveling, whatever the case is. I mean, you sustaining that life for that long must take a lot.
I'm just imagining the admin of managing time and things just to create a certain picture. I don't think it's very healthy. But if the couple believe it's working for them, then it's okay. The question is, at some point, they need still to tell the kids. And you know what's tough about it is that if you tell the kids, for instance, when they're 18 or when they're 21 or 15, and you think they're old enough for them to understand, and you break the news, they then start grieving the relationship that died more than 10 years ago, 1 and 2. They start blaming again the relationship that died 10 years ago. So the emotional impact of it will come back. Yeah. And now they will blame you for the pretense and tell you that you were all the time lying to them, basically. So you are letting them live a lie.
Yes, I actually know of a case of a gentleman who is lives still in his house, lives with his kid and his ex-girlfriend. They were not married. And even when he goes on holidays overseas, the kid has to come with, and the mother of the child, because for him it's important that, you know, they show the child that you are growing up in a household and you're raised by both parents. And it gets complicated when this guy meets other people that he gets into relationships with, because they find it awkward and weird that, why are you going overseas with your baby mama and the mother of your child and your child? It just doesn't make sense. So it really happens a lot where people are just lying to their children. They're trying to create an impression because they feel, I didn't grow up with my own parents. And I hear this among, you know, most of my friends. My male friends will say, I didn't grow up with my dad. I didn't have a close relationship with my dad, and I don't want that to be the experience of my child. So they're willing to do anything.
Yeah, I actually know quite a few people who do that as well, who live with their ex-girlfriends for the sake of the kids. And my question is all the time that when you go out and have a girlfriend, for instance, and you live with this mother of the kids in the house, and the kids see it as mom and dad are okay, because in the house everything is okay. Mom cooks for everybody, daddy goes and buy grocery for everybody. Everything is normal. But daddy will go out, and daddy will go out for a weekend, or will go out for days on end, going out to the girlfriend, you know. So what impression or what lesson are you teaching a growing up child watching this? Because they are watching. So in their head they think, oh, so it's normal for a couple who have a relationship and staying together for the husband to actually go out, or for the man to go out for days and come back and still go on as if nothing happened. Or for mommy to visit Uncle Mamang at the mall and they sit and drink tea, and we are given a separate table for us to eat ice cream.
Yeah.
So it's normal. So you must also think about the normalcy that you're bringing into the child's mind.
Yeah.
And what kind of a future are you determining for your child in terms of relationships? Are you saying it's okay to live like that?
Sure. Tabiseng, I've got some more WhatsApps and calls coming through from our listeners, so we'll start with them after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. 11:32, Bali. What's happening at the Madlanga Commission this morning? Good morning.
Well, Clement, a very good morning. The testimony of a crime intelligence officer at that commission has been delayed once again due to technical difficulties. The officer, appearing partially in camera under the pseudonym Witness G, is testifying from an undisclosed location. His identity has been withheld from the public after the commission determined that revealing it could put his life at risk. An investigation is underway into the cause of a crash which left 7 people dead in the Eastern Cape this morning. A taxi and a bus crashed into each other in Kariga. According to preliminary information, the taxi with staff members on board allegedly made a U-turn into the path of an oncoming bus. And Social Security Agency SASSA has assured eligible grant recipients that the discontinuation of several Postbank services will have no impact on them. Postbank is shifting its over-the-counter services to alternative banking channels. The move follows the expiry of a service agreement that ends a partnership for cash deposits and withdrawals at Postbank offices. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While traveling in the city of Tshwane Centurion, we still have got delays along the N14 North. This is between Littleton Road and Weirder Road. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic reported along the N1 South just as you approach the Flying Saucer interchange. And then if you're traveling in Joburg, we've got some issues being reported on the M2 West towards Main Reef Road. This is as you come out of the Crown interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 South right at the Geldenhuys interchange exit. Please be on the lookout there. Heading towards Deep Kloof, do expect delays on the N1 South coming out of the Deep Kloof interchange towards the Golden Highway. Please be on the lookout and keep it safe on the roads. More updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
Preparing your business for its next serious growth phase? Well, consider WeWork, built for teams that want to grow up and glow up. At WeWork, your team gets space to focus, space to meet, and space to think big. From 10 key private offices and meeting rooms to on-site support, high-speed Wi-Fi, and printers that just work. Whether you are scaling fast or studying up, WeWork does it properly. Book a free guided tour at wework.co.za. Made for work, built for business.
Mzansi, the excitement is building. The 130th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July takes place on Saturday, 4 July. This year's theme, Country Allure, draws from the richness of our land. A celebration of heritage, freedom and style, inspired by our beautiful countryside. It's more than a race. It's where champions are made, stories are written, and greatness is unleashed. World-class horse racing, bold fashion, music, culture, and a day of endless excitement at Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse. Get your early bird ticket now at Ticket Pro for just 250 Rand. Available now until 6 May 2026. Get ready to release your glamour at the Hollywood Bets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket. And save on deals like Clover Butro Full Cream Modified Butter Spread, 500 grams for $79.99. Kellogg's All-Bran Flake Cereal, 1 kg for $79.99. And Baby Soft 2-ply Fresh White Toilet Rolls, 24-pack for $159.99. Save 60 Rand. Valid until 10 May. Only at Checkers.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi. It's Joburg. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Family Matters.
It's 22 minutes now before 12 o'clock, and we are taking your calls and your WhatsApps as we want to hear your own experiences dealing with cases of divorce or separation or conflict. What do you do? How do you even break it to your kids that you are divorcing their other parent? And in cases where the kids have tried to get you guys to fix it, how did you navigate that? And are you one of those parents who've decided to stay because the children wanted that? Are you one of the parents like the one who sent us a message on Twitter who says they have been faking like they're together with the mom? This man says they're faking like they're still together with the mom just for the benefit of the kids, even though they've long been separated and divorced. We're talking this morning on our Family Matters feature about the pressure that children sometimes put on parents to reconcile. So how have you navigated that? And Tabiseng Moiketsi is a counseling psychologist guiding us through this conversation. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement. When I was in grade 4, I actually discovered that my parents were planning to separate, and I was distraught, like publicly distraught about it. They ended up staying together, but later on in my teens, when I found out the context, and I'd obviously matured a lot more by that time, and then throughout my 20s, I actually wished they had. And now, as I'm about to go through my own separation, I'm just grateful that my child will be perhaps less affected or less involved in the actual separation decision because they are under 6 years old and they don't yet have the full language to beg us to stay together. But I do think it's absolutely detrimental on the kids. But as well, I understand parents who decide to stay together once your child has the language to communicate that, because you just don't want to disappoint your child, hurt your child. But the repercussions of staying together when you shouldn't be together over time are far worse on that child than ending things as soon as you see that there are issues here that cannot be rectified.
Yeah, that's true. Sure. So complex, eh?
Hi, Clement. Yeah, I think on my part, the unfortunate thing is after 31 years of marriage life, we decided to call it quits after I lost my job in 2024. But what we did is we sat down with our kids because our children were quite big already. I mean, they are. We've got a 31-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 16-year-old. We sat them down and we actually explained to them that we have decided to call it quits, for lack of a better word. But obviously, we used different phrases or better phrases. But yeah, and fortunately, we're still in the same house, though, although we've eventually divorced, while I'm obviously trying to sort myself out from a financial perspective and obviously getting a place. And yeah, so I've decided that I'm going to leave my ex-wife and the kids in the house, let them stay in the house because we've been living in the same house for 20 odd years because the kids have asked us to please not sell the house because this is the only house that they know. And I've gladly obliged. So we even bigger friends now than what we were. So yeah, that's what we did.
Sure. Wow. Tabi Singh, does that sometimes work in your experience? When the parents decide we're divorcing, but they still stay as friends, stay in the same house. I mean, in this case, at least the kids are not too young, so you're not confusing the kids. I mean, 22, 31, 16, they're old enough at least to get a sense of the context. But I mean, in cases where a child is younger than 10 or, 6, so they will think that, oh, mommy and daddy are actually together, even though you guys are just friends now and you've decided to separate.
It happens most of the time when parents actually divorce. I know one case where they divorced a long time ago and the kids grew up thinking that mom and dad are still together until they were in their late teens that they were informed that actually they're not together. Although the parents were not even sleeping in the same rooms. I don't know how these kids thought, but they still believed mom and dad are still together at home. We do everything together. And to the point where even when the husband passed on later in life, the ex-wife was the one who buried him, in the same house, in the same yard, but they were divorced. Yes, it happens. It happens that people stay together and some still maintain the friendship. And if that happens, big ups to them because when they are friends, they can actually become good parents to their kids and they can negotiate their way around the kids in terms of life because life will happen. Life will demand its own things on you that, hey man, I'm lonely. But you can't go to the ex-wife. You need to have your own life. So if you are friends, you'll be able to negotiate around that. How do we do this? How do we live our own life out there? What do we do so that our kids are not actually affected by this, but they still see the same team in terms of parenting, in terms of values, in terms of principles of life. However, they also see the separation between you as a couple. They know that you are parents, but you are not a couple. So it's important to always emphasize that, even with things that you do in the house, to show that you are not a couple, but you are parents. Things like going on holiday together, totally off. You make children understand that it's totally off. Things like being in the same room, totally off. Things that couples share, totally off. But you are still friends, meaning you can still live together, you can still attend children's stuff together, you can still make sure that everything in the house goes well. But I know it's the most difficult choice to make.
Well, so in terms of communication, though, what are the right ways for parents to explain separation to children without overburdening them or even oversharing? Because sometimes children don't understand. They've only seen, you as their parents happy, but they don't know the background and the arguments and whatever the fights that have been taking place behind closed doors. So when you say to them, we're separating, sometimes they go, what do you mean? So what's the and you don't want to end up oversharing, because then you're overburdening them. So what's the best way to do it?
The best way to do it, Lemon, is to start by preparing yourself. Preparing your thoughts and your mind, and agreeing as a couple. What are we going to present to the children? What are we going to say? And secondly, prepare yourself in terms of who is going to say what. Is mommy going to be the one who initiates the conversation, or is it daddy? How are we going to do this? You both agree. Agree for the first time in your life that you are going to ask to do this together. So you agree that you do it together and you're going to do it.
Oof, yeah, that line is breaking again, Tavi Singh. Tell you what, we're going to try. We're almost at the end, so we're going to try and fix it again. Either change the line or get you in another room as we continue this conversation. But keep your WhatsApps and your calls coming. We'll start with them after the break. It's 16 now, before 12 o'clock.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
On the 2nd of April, Mazu Kubega left home to deposit rent money for his tuck shop. He never came back. His shop remained closed and his phone went unanswered. Later, on the 2nd of May, he reappeared. Now, he says he'd been held captive in a hijacked building. He says he was blindfolded for much of the time and guarded by a group of foreign nationals. Colonel Demakazo, does his story hold up?
Mazu had to be getting a medical assessment. He was taken to the hospital, and that's only then after the police could interview him.
How did he escape?
Remember, he was visibly shaken. The statement that we took is from what he told us, how did he get out, but we still need to go back to him and retake the statement.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
If your mechanic was becoming too expensive, you would switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 35-year-old Zanai a whopping 1,180 Rand on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now. Save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Aziz Shege, be in the game. Show your love for D-Ski with Hollywood Bets. We're taking the soccer season to new heights. You could win a share of 4 million Rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Hilux double cab or Toyota Starlet Cross. All you have to do is bet 10 Rand or more on any soccer fixture online or at your nearest branch. Bet now and strike for glory. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
702.
Family Matters.
It's going up to 10 minutes before 12 o'clock. We're talking about the pressure that children sometimes put on their parents to reconcile, get back together, especially after a divorce or some kind of conflict or a separation of sorts. And I would like to know how you've been navigating that as parents who have been put under that kind of pressure. Or maybe you were the children or the child that put pressure on the parents. What's your story? You can give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Let me read some of the WhatsApps that have come through. Open Heaven on WhatsApp says, "Good morning, Clement. Children want their biological parents to be together. I chose me. And to this day, the children are still unhappy with my decision." And then another person says, "Clement, my opinion is that most separated parents project these feelings on the children. Children are more resilient than we give them credit for. I think the parents need to work through their unresolved feelings towards the ex-partner, that they can truly see the situation for what it is. In my experience, I was honest and intentional about my kids also seeing me with other people and encourage their dad to do the same, within reason, of course, so that they get used to the idea of us not being together and not internalizing that. If your children only ever have an idea of mommy in a relationship with daddy, they will grow up thinking that's the only way that their parents can exist. Oh, that's such an important point to raise there, Lerato in Midrand. And the other one says, Clement, please keep me anonymous. My family went through counseling prior the divorce, but my ex-husband stopped attending the sessions. I continued with my two girls, 24 and 14 years. Then we sat them down to communicate the divorce. My younger daughter, for my younger daughter, it was blurry for her. My eldest said it was about time we divorce because she has seen and had it all. She was happy with the divorce. Today, as adults, they both understand and are happy that I filed for divorce then. This is a beautiful topic. Thank you. Well, thanks to you, Anonymous, for sharing your thoughts with us. Tato, you are in Germiston. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, man. What's your story?
Yeah, Clement, having gone through this experience, my parents divorced some, I think, 16, 17 years ago now.
Mm.
And the one thing that my father did, which took years to kick in, but which really stood out, was when he saw, obviously as the parents, they knew that the relationship was coming to an end. He sat myself, my younger brother, and my sister down. At the time I was 15, my younger brother was 9, and my older sister she just started varsity, so she was around 19. And he just specified that, number one, this is not our fault. That was very important. Number two, we shouldn't feel any pressure, specifically speaking to me and my brother, in terms of he's not going to be in the house because he left he left us and my mother with the house, similar to the caller in the previous voice note, I think it was. Left us in the house. We had grown up there for some 15 years, left us there, and he defined our roles in saying that the main thing is that you guys must remain children. Have fun, enjoy, and don't get involved so issues of elderly people. And because what really happens, Clement, is that your child goes to school, and in that environment, they're dealing with nuclear, not everybody. I mean, I had friends whose parents were also divorced, some earlier, and we gravitated towards one another. But then you also deal with children that are in, I'm going to call it perfect homes, where mom and dad is there, and that's where the pressure really comes in. And myself being 15 at that point, I can imagine what my youngest brother was going through. But I think it really is easier on the younger children when the older siblings are there. You do kind of take a little bit of a parent role. I mean, it does happen. But my father having defined that, I knew that I was not a father to my brother. I was his own brother.
Yes. Yeah, Tato in Germiston. Thanks, man. Thanks for calling and sharing your experience with us.
Hi, Clement. Anonymous here. Clement, my take on this thing. Yeah, I hear what it's been said by the specialist there, but I'm of the mind that hey, let us do what works for us, and let us also talk to these children, because these children do see. They're very observant. They can pick up, physically, spiritually, and otherwise. But I don't see anything wrong if parents want to come together and they can manage it, living together to raise their children whilst they have their own lives, dating other people, but politely still respecting children and explaining their situation, even if it's not detailed, depending on their age. Because we still do, when we live together, life looking normal, we still cheat on each other. Children do see, even if we are not doing it openly. It is healthy and important for children to live with both their parents, as long as the situation is not toxic and the two parents can understand each other and serve what they are supposed to serve to their children. I support it, and I feel it's proper, as long as it's not toxic to the parents and to the children. They know and can manage what they are doing. Thank you so much.
Hi, Clement. I think for me, in terms of this separation topic, what is the most difficult thing is when the other parent is not taking into consideration the child. All they want to talk about is the cause of the separation and why you guys are separating. And they end up, because of your situation, example, I'm not employed at the moment, would make it very difficult for you to live. So they then restrict and stop buying food in the house and doing things that they used to do because you guys are now separating. So it's kind of difficult to communicate there because now the child is asking, do we have food or what are we eating? And you as the other parent has to make a plan when you are not employed. So it's kind of difficult dealing with someone who doesn't want to reason and think for the child.
Hi, Clement. It's Des from Boksburg here. I'd like to share experience about divorce and separation in the kids. You know, I was separated from my kid at the age of 10 or 12, and I met the kid 20 years later. One of the most profound things I learned was I was happy when you're separated, the noise stopped. And in that stage of my life, I wanted to see the kid, but I wanted to see the kid for me. It was for my validation. It was for my connection. It was for me. And I pushed and pushed and pushed. But I never took a minute to think, what does the child want? The child wants the noise to stop. And it's important to remember that you need to do what the child wants, not what you want for yourself.
Yeah, true. That's why it's important, as Ntabi saying has been saying, to have these conversations with the kids, but also within reason. You don't want to overshare, but also you don't want to put them in a situation where they feel they're guilty or responsible. Thank you to Ntabi Moketsi, who is a counseling psychologist, for joining us and guiding us through this important conversation. It's 3 minutes before 12.
Ah, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers two options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
If your mechanic was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 35-year-old Zanai a whopping 1,180 Rand on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed, insured, and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
The Rebirth of Ubuntu concert returns for its 5th edition, live at Joburg Theatre, 29 and 30 May at 7:30 p.m, celebrating 50 years of youth legacy. Featuring Lira, Zoe Mudiga, Vusinova, Tutu Puani, and Jimmy Zulu, backed by a 20-piece orchestra conducted by Grammy Award winner Joe Arthur. Curated and produced by the visionary Billy Munama. Tickets available at Web Tickets. Proudly supported by Brand South Africa, City of Johannesburg, Arts Alive, 702 and ENCA.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Good morning, Mandy.
Good morning, Clement.
What's popping?
So the country's top law firms, legal associations, all in court today. If you're looking for a senior advocate, chances are they'll be in court. They're arguing over the legal sector code. This is about BE and transformation in the legal sector. Witness G is testifying in camera at the Madlanga Commission. The health department has urged the public not to panic over the hantavirus cases from a cruise ship. We now have more detail about who the people were when they came into South Africa, what happened around that. We'll explain that all to you. We'll speak to News 24 about the court judgment in their favor in an attempt to gag them. Journalism by litigation is what they're having to deal with at the moment. And then we'll wrap up the weekend sport. Lots of sport to unpack.
Yes, indeed. That's the Midday Report coming up with Mandy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the Monday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Tomorrow, we will be coming to you live from the Trialogue Business in Society Conference here in Sandton. This thought leadership gathering of corporates, government, and NPOs is proudly supported by 702 and Prime Media Care. Stay listening to 702 throughout the day. I'll be back with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. Motorists will have to dig deeper into their pockets from Wednesday with petrol prices set for another increase. Petrol prices will be hiked by R3.20